Zarks watched his human counterpart dig through the dusty crates with an odd sort of fascination. Captain Riley, while usually composed and collected, had the gleam of a treasure hunter in his eyes. It was the same wide eyed wonder Zarks had witnessed in human children when they discovered a long lost playground. What exactly do you think you're going to find in there, Riley? Zarks asked, his translator implant converting his vocalizations into crisp English. Riley pulled a bulky metal device from the back of the crate and held it up for inspection. Who knows? He grinned. But with all this old tech your people left on this outpost, there's bound to be something incredible. You wouldn't believe the stuff we find in your refuse bins. Zarks bristled slightly. To have their technological cast-offs admired felt strangely insulting. He'd long learned to navigate the often bewildering world of human emotions, but this one eluded him. I assure you, Riley, there's nothing remarkable in these crates, he said. Outdated energy regulators, inefficient communication arrays. These are relics we phased out for superior models centuries ago. Riley chuckled and ran a hand over the device. Vintage gold, my friend. Trust me. Zarks could only offer a skeptical tilt of his head. His species, the Kithar, were technologically driven. Innovation the backbone of their culture. They had a hard time understanding the human fascination with the antiquated and obsolete. To the Kithar, the only worthwhile pursuit was the bleeding edge, the newest advancement, the leap forward. Over the months stationed on Kithar Outpost 3, Riley had become a constant source of amusement and frustration for Zarks. The human always had some project underway, usually involving an ancient Kithar device that the rest of his crew saw as scrap. He'd spend hours in his makeshift workshop, tinkering and adjusting, much to the bewilderment of the outpost's Kithar engineers. See this? Riley said, holding up a circuit board he'd extracted from the discarded energy regulator. With a few tweaks, this baby could boost the power output of our shields. Zarks tried to find polite words for highly improbable. Riley was skilled for a human, but extrapolating greater efficiency out of tech that was generations old verged on the absurd. Zarks wasn't one to dismiss the impossible outright. Humans had a habit of making the improbable a reality. Still, a part of him hoped Riley would fail spectacularly. A bit of friendly rivalry in the otherwise peaceful humdrum of outpost life. Riley spent the next few days holed up in his workshop. Zarks caught glimpses through the open door, schematics scrawled across boards, the pungent smell of soldering, and Riley humming old rock and roll tunes under his breath. Zark sometimes wondered if the humans' strange musical inclinations were somehow related to their inexplicable technological creativity. One morning, Riley emerged from his workshop, dust smudges on his face that couldn't hide his triumphant grin. He gestured grandly towards the outpost's training field. Behold, Zarks, he proclaimed. Vintage alien tech meets human ingenuity. Zarks followed Riley outside, along with a few curious members of the Kithar crew. In the center of the field stood an archaic Kithar combat simulator, the kind they hadn't used in decades. But Riley had done something to it. Wires snaked from its metallic form, connecting to power sources, and a jury-rigged control panel was propped up on a nearby crate. Let me introduce you to Sparky, Riley said with mock formality. Our very own upgraded Kithar combat training module. And trust me, Sparky ain't the slow-moving target practice your ancestors remember. One of the younger Kithar, Lexa, stepped forward, her curiosity outweighing her skepticism. I'll be the test subject, Captain. Strap in, Riley said, his eyes twinkling, and prepare to eat your doubts, Lieutenant Lexa. As Lexa entered the battered simulator, something flickered to life within. It whirred, gears grinding noisily. Then the holographic emitters flashed into being. Only these weren't the blocky, predictable training drones of old. A swarm of insectoid figures buzzed around Lexa, faster and more agile than any simulation program Sarks had ever witnessed. Lexa's movements were quick, but the swarm was quicker. She deflected and dodged, firing simulated bursts that dissipated against the holographic targets. Yet her maneuvers were losing fluidity. She was struggling to keep up. A bead of sweat ran down Lexa's forehead, but her eyes blazed with determination. This was unlike any simulator she'd trained on before, a relentless challenge that pushed her limits. The Cathar spectators shifted uneasily, their usual confidence turning to a mix of grudging respect and a hint of fear. Riley, watching from his control panel, flashed a roguish smile. "Well, Zarks," he said, "this might be a touch more stimulating than your usual training program." Zarks forced himself to concede. "Impressive. Most impressive." He'd never seen a simulator adapt its difficulties so seamlessly. Riley had managed to unlock something dormant within the old tech, an ability to respond and evolve. As Lexa faltered, overwhelmed by the swarm, an odd thing happened. The simulation didn't stop, but the aggression dialed back. The targets became slightly less chaotic, giving Lexa space to adjust and strategize anew. It became a dance, a back and forth. Lexa pushing herself until she stumbled, then the simulation allowing her a crucial moment to breathe. It wasn't easing the challenge. It was shaping it, forcing her to adapt, to improve with each stumble. When she finally staggered out of the simulator, she was exhausted but exhilarated. "That," she gasped, "that was the best training session of my life. How did you do that?" Riley's smug grin widened. "Like I said, vintage alien tech, baby. Your ancestors made some resilient programs. I just figured out how to give them a little kick in the circuits." In that moment, Zarks felt a wave of understanding wash over him. The Kithar, in their endless pursuit of the next best thing, had forgotten something fundamental. While innovation fueled their progress, there was an inherent power in old technology. Its simplicity, its enduring design, and yes, even its limitations. Humans, it seemed, saw those limitations not as dead ends, but as opportunities. It wasn't the sleek perfection of cutting-edge tech that fascinated them. It was the raw potential hidden in the forgotten and the underestimated. Word of Sparky spread through the outpost. Kithar crew lined up to test their mettle against Riley's antique menace. The laughter and skepticism gave way to surprise, then respect, and finally to a grudging excitement. Riley had given them something that they didn't even know they wanted. A challenge that couldn't be predicted. A simulation that refused to let them stagnate. But Riley wasn't content to stop there. He started tinkering with old communication arrays, boosting their range with jury-rigged antennae. He rewired energy regulators, squeezing extra power from systems designed for far less. The Cathar engineers grumbled, but were secretly fascinated. His methods were unorthodox, sometimes downright messy, but they yielded results that couldn't be ignored. One evening, Zarks found himself in Riley's workshop, surrounded by a delightful chaos of disassembled machinery and half-finished schematics. "You know," Riley said, not looking up from his soldering project, "you guys are brilliant, but you get a little caught up in the fancy. Sometimes," he gestured around the workshop, "sometimes you gotta look back to move forward." Zarks nodded slowly. "Sometimes, it appears, humans are the ones who see the big picture." Riley offered a genuine smile. "Just wait, Zarks. I've got some ideas about those ancient sensor arrays you guys were going to scrap. I think we can boost their resolution." The conversation drifted into the realm of technical jargon and hypothetical upgrades, a familiar exchange, yet somehow transformed. It wasn't just collaboration anymore, it was something more profound, a recognition that their two species, separated by such different philosophies, could both learn and grow from the other. Zarks, as he left the workshop much too late that night, couldn't help but grin. The humans, with their odd love for outdated and discarded things, had opened up possibilities he hadn't imagined. After all, sometimes the greatest leaps forward lay hidden in the dusty corners of the past.